And we welcome you in to the Centier Bank studio. This is the Region Football Wrap-Up Show. Michael Brenner here along with the sports director, Mike Dewan. Mike, really fun evening tonight. A lot of firsts here on the Region Sports Network tonight. We had the RSN zone. Yeah. A lot of fun to be able to work that with you tonight. Coach Bazia getting win number 250 in his career. So on a couple overtime games that were thrilling. Just a lot of really fun action here in Week 6 of the high school football season.
Yeah, last week maybe a little bit of a lot more close games, but nonetheless we're always happy to experience a Friday night like this one. We still got our fair share of closer games and a lot more games where teams have fully proven themselves that we're going to talk about as we kind of run through this slate, but teams that are kind of really separating themselves and playing good football and hopefully riding that momentum come playoff time, which after this, we're 2/3 of the way done through the regular season. So now we're in that final third, as you and I kind of mentioned, in the RSN zone, that it's kind of, okay, let's bear down the hatches. Let's get ready to go come October and
This
November.
is where you want to start building that momentum towards sectionals. So week number 6, let's go through some of those finals real quick. If you hadn't checked into the RSN zone or the hometown scoreboard update brought to you by Streck and Van Til, we've got Boone Grove and River Forest. We knew it was going to be a good game. It was Boone Grove last year. It had been River Forest the 3 years before that. Walking away with the victory in overtime tonight by a single point. Boone Grove.
They'll take it.
Yeah, absolutely.
This was River Forest. Starting with them, it's their second game in a row decided by now 3 points or less. This was a game where they were leading at one point. A few times. This was a roller coaster game. A lot of points, especially in that second half. River Forest had the lead multiple times in this game. I believe went to a fifth frame. Had some free football over there.
I have in the fourth quarter. I have that River Forest was up 17-16.
Yeah,
and then it ends up being Boone Grove 32, River Forest 31.
Right. Obviously a lot of points there and kind of those final stages of the game. And River Forest, a team that was ranked 9th in our home improvement top 10, to again a second straight week of falling behind and losing a nail-biter. They're still a very talented team, and I like them going forward. But Boone Grove, this was a big-time win, a team that we expected to be pretty solid going into this year, but was kind of struggling to put those wins together, be competitive for 4 quarters. A big-time win for there, and as we mentioned, both teams in that side of the GSSC in that small division of 4. That could be the division title right there for Boone Grove. I may say it just right now. Looking at kind of how things look out in that conference, Boone Grove might just be the favorite, and they really control their fate coming up.
Well, and we talked about number 9 going down here, and the home improvement top 10 brought to you by Enigenberg.
Yeah. There
might be some movement here in this top 10, so we'll have to see how that all plays out. Over at North White, they get the win 51-12 over Bowman Academy. And it was celebration on here in the RSN Centier Bank studio as Calumet gets the win 38-36 over Whiting. Really a celebration by one person in the studio is Justin Cole. It's best because he was having a beverage here just now was trying to get him to spit it out, but didn't get it.
No spit.
Didn't get it to work.
Yeah, you're pretty. You're good at making the producers crack. You mentioned you're one of one in that, but another close game there as well. A roller coaster game to say the least. Again, 2 teams in the GSSC on one side of the division. Big one for Calumet and Charles Saller. Again, a lot of great guys over there. The course head coach that is still in his first few years within the program. A big time win going to Whiting, getting that 2-point win there. It's not easy to do.
Yeah, you said earlier in the night Whiting is one of those tough places to get wins, so Calumet going in there getting the win, always impressive. One that you saw right here on the Region Sports Network was, it was pretty much a drubbing over here as Crown Point gets the win 41-7, helped Coach Bazia get his 250th win of his career.
Yeah, it's Valparaiso. Don't get this wrong. They are a great football team, but Crown Point is the real deal. We take it all the way back to week 2. Arizona College Prep, remember when they played them, and Arizona College Prep, I want to say from that week on, they won their next 3 or 4 games because that was a team that Crown Point, again, also in similar fashion, put the running clock on, hit them early. That was no slouch either, and it's tough to look through these first 6 weeks. What has been their closest game? Maryville? Maryville hung with them a little bit in the first quarter, but Crown Point still won by a running clock at one point.
Right.
This is... I kind of mentioned before we kind of started talking about these games, there's a lot of prove-it games, a lot of teams that have really shown us their potential as we kind of get into this latter third of the season, and Crown Point, they do it again. It's a game, kind of a big game aspirations, similar to what we kind of saw with the Maryville game. Crown Point ran on that parade. 250 wins for a hell of a head coach over there, Craig Buzia. Kudos to him and what they're doing over there. Valparaiso, they'll be back. Again, they're playing up still. It's a 5A team. Again, playoffs come around. They tend to shine the most when it's do or die.
Interesting test next week against Maryville.
Yeah, too.
Moving on down the line, you've got the Griffith Panthers, who are all over East Chicago tonight, 49-7. A lot of debate here in the Centaur Bank Studios. Does this Griffith team move above Valparaiso now in the standings?
I guess you could find out next Tuesday when those come out, home improvement top 10. But that's going to take a lot of thought. Now, obviously, you kind of put 2 and 2 together, and if you do a hypothetical matchup, yeah, I mean, you look at the bigger school, you look at Valparaiso, and you put them together. Again, Griffith's been playing some great football, but Valparaiso, again, that's a big team, and I don't really, when making this top 10, when we kind of put this all together, it's not really kind of putting these two teams together who's going to win. Now, if they match up actually in the season, and if one team gets the upper hand in the game, then that kind of plays into it. But if what you're kind of doing at your respective level and how they're doing it, I wouldn't put it past them. Obviously, for Valparaiso, it's kind of tough to penalize them playing a team like Crown Point, which is why Maryville barely moved when they lost, and some other teams as well. But it's definitely a topic of conversation now. Yeah,
so something for the committee to consider. Sure. For sure. Over in Illinois, Andrew Thunderbolts, and I said this wrong earlier, I apologize. The Thunderbolts get the win 44-6 over Hammond Central.
Yeah, it's, again, Hammond Central going to Tinley Park over there to take on Andrew. It's, again, hopping on a bus, going across, it's not an easy drive regardless. Hammond Central looking to kind of, bounce back in kind of this latter third of the season. Again, 5A school, hoping to make some noise a little bit in the playoffs. Again, still a program. I say this just about every week, but they are a little bit in their infancy. They're still, only 4 years in. A lot of new kids around there. A lot of kids that left that program, maybe went elsewhere, maybe graduated. Still, again, Adam Hudak, I trust him and his judgment, all those guys over there. Great coaching staff as well, and again, a program that, again, you win or you learn in this kind of business, and it's gonna treat them going well forward. But obviously, again, that small non-conference, you got to venture out, and they played Andrew, and Andrew got the best of them tonight.
All right, back over here in Indiana, you've got 59-59 Broadway. It was the 59ers with the 38-7 win over the Highland Trojans.
Yeah, big-time win for Andrea, and obviously that heartbreaking loss on the Region Sports Network last week at the Brickyard. Good to see them bounce back and win in that fashion. I'm very interested to see on how they ran the football tonight. Only 22 rushing yards against Hobart. If you want to throw the ball, I think it would even be better if you could run the football as well. That opens up the passing game, which we know they could do. Brady Elsh is their quarterback, who's very solid, some good receivers as well. But things get so much easier when you could actually run the football. Interested to see how they do that tonight, moving forward. But again, Andrean, the conference, again, maybe out of reach, but they're still going to be a competitive team. I like them going forward. And again, only a 2A team. They're building themselves up for the playoffs.
All right, let's keep it in the conference. Hobart comes in with the win 42-7 over at the Inferno for the little Red Devils.
Yeah, quite the second half for the Brickies. It was kind of a slower start. I want to say, the halftime score was 14-7 at the half, and then Hobart obviously kind of put some things together there in the second half. An offense that has just gotten better over the course of their winning streak. It was a tough start in the Duneland. And Eric Schreiber Jr., to my knowledge, a little bit more of, they're kind of pushing the envelope offensively. They like to throw the football as well as they like to run it. And Lowell, that's a tough place to play. Obviously, a little bit of element kind of taken off with the new turf field, but still not an easy drive, and obviously a passionate fan base, as you mentioned earlier. But Hobart's been playing some great football, and obviously they're scoring a lot of points, which is what you need to do to win football games. And it was tough to do for them against the Duneland opponents in the first 2 weeks. But again, once conference play started, they're unscathed so far through 4 games in the conference, and that's all that matters. Now 2 teams, 4-0 in the NCC. That's going to shape up to be a good one for that potential title.
Should be interesting as we get to those final 3 weeks of the season. Game that was played yesterday that went final. You have Culver Academies getting the win over KV 35-28. Over at Ames Field, Michigan City holds on and gets the 20-14 victory over Lake Central. We were kind of talking about this one. Probably going to knock Lake Central out of that top 10, but you got to like the fight out of Lake Central in this one.
Yeah, no, it was a 20-0 game, and what I kind of saw, it was tough sledding for that Lake Central offense, specifically that Michigan City defense is very, very solid. They got a lot of guys over there that are going to play at the next level, starting with Adrian Holly. He's going to go in Big 12 football next year, going to Kansas, so that's no joke. But it was nobody really played. Again, these are 2 teams that we're hoping to see a good 4 quarters from, and We didn't really see it again here tonight. Now, obviously, Michigan City just had the better half.
Right.
20-0 for Michigan City at halftime. I want to say through 3 quarters.
Yeah.
And then Lake Central puts up 14. They had the chance to, come back, and they had the ball at one point, a chance to, take the lead, put a drive together. Things didn't go that way. Lake Central, I got to appreciate the fight there from Pete Koulianos and his boys. Michigan City, again, a close win, something that's kind of been unfamiliar for them for just about this season. But, yeah, definitely a slugfest over there, a game that Michigan City just about controlled for 3 quarters, and got to give kudos to Lake Central for the fight, but City just gets out of that one.
And we talk about that middle tier of the DAC just keeps getting bigger and bigger, and you can put these two teams right there in the middle. All right, Bishop Knoll getting the win 47-6 over the Lake Station Eagles, and then you have the number 3 Maryville Pirates getting the win, the shutout actually, 35-0 over LaPorte.
Yeah, they're capable of doing it. It's a fun defense over there. Trent Nixon, Adam Camphor, just to name a few, John Peters as well, plenty of other guys over there, Jeremiah Jordan. There's a lot of talent on the defensive side, and the offense that sets them up, obviously, maybe you force some turnovers, you get them behind the sticks, you force some average punts, whatever, and you put yourself in plus territory with an offense that is still trying to find their identity. We know they could run the football, but when your defense plays well and sets your offense up for, again, you need a couple first downs to be in the red zone, being scoring position, that helps them out. And they go to LaPorte, obviously not an easy drive for anybody in the Duneland. Take care of business. Good to see that from Maryville, who had, again, a pretty solid performance against Michigan City last week, 14-12 win, but to see them come out tonight and shut out LaPorte Slicers, it's a big win for them.
All right, over at Cedar Lake, you got Hanover Central getting the win at 42-6 over the Munster Mustangs. But hey, the Mustangs scored, so we're happy with that.
True. Yes, it's not easy to do on this Hanover Central team. That's a way to put it. But as I mentioned, there's 2 teams undefeated in the NCC. One of them is Hobart. Now one of them still remains the Hanover Central Wildcats. I want to say they meet up very, very soon. It might be next week. I wish I did my research on that. I think it is next week. I believe that game's at the Brickyard, too, to my knowledge. So that's going to be one we definitely need to keep an eye on. And that game, you probably at least decide you win that game, you get a share of the trophy. And that's going to be a big one for Hanover Central. It's still keeping up their quest to repeat as NCC champions. And Hobart, they want to bring their name back in the limelight.
Oh, and it's perfect when we got all this coverage coming out about the Hobart Brickies and their run coming up here with all these articles that you have been a part of, and Chris Ramirez and Waddle, and just great stuff that we're putting out there for the Hobart Brickies. So we'll talk about that a little bit more here in just a few minutes. One game that we had circled, we were kind of hoping to get some answers for. I'm not sure if we got the answers we were really looking for, but Chesterton gets the win 10-6 over the Portage Indians.
Yeah, all the scoring in the fourth quarter, and teams not really doing much offensively. I think a lot of squandered opportunities for both sides, some turnovers on the goal line, some turnover on downs. Just a game where obviously Chesterton made the more of it. I know their lone touchdown, Owen Edlin, their fantastic defensive end, had a scoop and score from about 55 yards out, and that was kind of the difference. Portage scored a little bit after that, but up 2 scores in a game where, again, the clock's not on your side if you're Portage, especially down 2 scores in a game that it was 0-0 for that long.
Right.
It was just a difference there. But, again, not many answers seen coming from these 2 teams. We see in the middle tier a little bit of the Duneland, but, it was an interesting one over there, to say the least. Chesterton battling some injuries. Portage hoping to kind of get a bounce-back win after their pretty solid start to the season. It's a tough pill to swallow for them as well.
Well, Chesterton definitely wanted to get on the win column again after that very tough loss to Valparaiso, losing it on a last-second 2-point conversion. Wanted to come back and get a victory, and they'll go over to St. John next week. All right, over Wheeler is 41-0 over West Side. You would think, okay, you win 41-0, you get the shutout at number 6 in the polls, but I don't know if there's a lot of movement for Wheeler in this one.
Yeah, we'll see. It's a long season. We still have, again, 3 more weeks to go in the regular season. They got a big test coming up in a few weeks when that day is to come. But Wheeler, this is when they really heat up on the schedule. I keep saying this. Now, obviously, Week 9, that's going to be a fun one against Griffith that could ultimately decide that entire, really, conference over there. So we'll focus on that when the day comes. But, yeah, it's you kind of see the usual suspects ahead of them in that top 10. So it's going to be interesting seeing come next Tuesday when that Ennigenberg home improvement top 10 comes out. But Wheeler, they played some great football as of late. Nick's Testa, and again, everybody over there. A lot of guys going two ways. One of my favorite teams around here. Again, one of the smaller schools that they play up. They do a great job over there. We've seen them in a couple Bearcats games that we saw tonight in Westside. Still a great program, a 4A program that we know they could run the football. Wheeler just got the best of them tonight.
All right, some out-of-area games or somewhat out-of-area games to keep an eye on. We had New Prairie get the win 14-0 over South Bend Riley. North Judson gets the win 40-0 over Triton. And then Knox gets the 57-24 win over LaVille. So pretty impressive night for those teams out there.
Yes,
pretty lopsided. I feel like we see a lot of lopsided games, but then there's few close ones that just make it all that more fun on a Friday night.
Sure, yeah, that's the beauty of it. Again, it's a lot of games to cover, and again, being in the latter stages of the regular season, we're not going to get this many games, this much variety. It's flying down pretty quickly, and before you know it, again, it's these teams are going to be playing for, their season. That's it, man. It's 6 weeks in the books like that. It's crazy.
All right, let's talk a little bit more about the
that's right, yeah,
our Hobart connections that we've got brewing here on the Region Sports Network.
Yes, we got, before we kind of head out, we got a big series we're working on right now that we'd love to promote. It's called Beating the Brickies, and this is, first of all, it's paying homage, again, to those Bricky teams. Again, the story of Northwest Indiana football could really not be told without kind of the Don Howell era and what he did with Hobart football back in the later, even mid-'70s, all of the '80s, and most of the '90s.
Right.
Trophies on trophies over there. They went to Lucas Oil, or whatever they called it back in the day, Hoosier Dome, RCA Dome, whatever it was called. Plenty times. Won many trophies, many different streaks that are just absolutely mind-boggling. And we released 3 stories so far. We're going to release a 4th tomorrow. We released an introduction and a story of the Lake Central Indians from 1986. Those are both written by Chris Ramirez. You can go find those on our website at regionsports.com. We also released a story from the 1997, I believe, the state championship winning Griffith Panther team that kind of put the end, kind of the final chapter maybe to that Hobart Bricky dominance. We got one coming out tomorrow. This was written by Brian Waddle, as well as the Griffith story was. It's about the Chesterton team that snapped Hobart's 71-game home winning streak. Chesterton, I read a little bit of that story actually right before this. Chesterton, again, I kind of mentioned, they a good team, okay team, but going into the game, I'd say the favorite was definitely the team that won 71 straight games at their home turf, home grass, I should say, at the Bricky Bowl. And Chesterton came into that game 1-3 with the record. Hobart, of course, 4-0. Chesterton got the win over there, snapping that 71-game home winning streak. Just put that into perspective. For a regular season, you play about 5 to 4 home games. Maybe you'll get a couple more in the playoffs if you're lucky. But it is truly mind-boggling. And again, we are celebrating the teams that, of course, were able to live and tell the story, talk with players and coaches and everybody involved with these 8 stories. But we're also, of course, paying homage to, again, this story does not happen if Hobart was not so good. We're not taking jabs at certain teams. We're not comparing this era to that era or whatever that may be. This is simply, we're celebrating teams that accomplish feats that, again, Hobart won. It was, I think they had 30 losses out of 260-something games.
Holy cow.
It was, they were truly unbeatable. And a lot of those teams are coming from Indianapolis, teams that are not in this area. So, again, we celebrate 8 teams throughout this series. We got a couple stories already released. Again, the intro, a Lake Central story, a Griffith story, and tomorrow will be the Chesterton story, a team that snapped the 71-game winning streak. 71 and done, I believe, is the title of the story. And that'll be out right around probably 9 a.m. tomorrow. And that'll be our 4th official story, 3rd team coverage. So, yeah, it's been fun. Again, Brian Waddle's writing that. Chris Ramirez wrote a couple. I got some in the chamber as well coming out a little later. So, yeah, it's been fun.
Well, can't wait to grab my coffee tomorrow and start reading at 9 a.m. bright and early.
Sir.
Get it going.
Yes, sir.
I know you have all the credits for tonight.
Let me.
He makes all the schedules, so he knows.
Right, it's kind of my job. So I want to start off first of our crews. I got to give a shout out, of course, to everybody at Valparaiso who did that stream tonight. Zach Sanelli was the producer there. Clint Klaus, Leo Stoudeker, and Jay Simmons, the one and hopefully the only, as you mentioned. Those were our play-by-play and our color guys. Clint Klaus was our cameraman for everybody at Valparaiso High School. First, again, the coaches as well, Craig Buzia of Crown Point, and Bill Marshall of Valparaiso, and Don Clark and Stacy Adams, both those guys in the athletic department. Stacy Adams, the athletic director. Don Clark as well does a great job over there. So always appreciate the hospitality. And then, of course, Wheeler. I'll start with the athletic director over there, Jeff Enright. We tapped into their huddle camp tonight. That went really well tonight from what we saw on their end. And, again, they were in contact with me as well as, of course, getting out to the game. But the crew over there as well, Joey Heinrich was our producer over there. Quincy Bell, the kid, always does a fantastic job. Chris Figg made his debut with us. And then the coaches over there, Elgar Boswell of West Side and Nick Testa of Wheeler. And then, yeah, we got everybody else that was in the studio tonight that I'll let you kind of finish off with that.
All right, we got our executive producer, Chris Ramirez, our operations manager, Rich Castillo. We had the Swiss Army Knives, Zach Miller in the house. Justin Cole doing a great job on production tonight. Sports director Mike Duano, it was a pleasure working with you. Yeah, it was great. We had Skibbs up there as well, and
Allen too. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So doing a great job on the scoreboard, which we got to see throughout the night as well. And again, kudos to Justin Cole doing a great job getting that RSN zone all squared away. It was absolutely phenomenal to be a part of. Glad we got to start that here on the Region Sports Network tonight. And
could be something in the future. Yeah, we'll see. It was a fun time for sure.
Yeah. Without question. All right, that'll wrap things up here on the Region Football Wrap-Up Show. We'll have plenty more coming throughout the week, a special Region Football Weekly on Thursday as well.
I guess we could plug that as well. Sponsored by Better Beef of Indiana. We do our Region Football Weekly again. Usually Chris Ramirez and I, but we'll have kind of a smorgasbord of a bunch of people up there, a couple personalities from us. We'll be going live from Whiting High School, again presented by Better Beef of Indiana. We're going to have kind of a cookout over there with the Whiting football team. Much respect over there from them for letting us come out do what we do. Coach John Jolly, as well as everybody else involved with making that happen. Going to be a fun one over there. Expect that next Thursday, probably around 5:30, 6 o'clock-ish, we'll say.
All right, sounds good. So that'll wrap things up here on the Region Football Wrap-Up Show. Thanks for tuning in. Week number 6 in the books. Only 3 weeks of the regular season left before we start looking at sectionals. So you've been tuned into the Region Sports Network, the only game in town.